This is not the story of Claudio Caniggia that people usually remember through his goals, his bursts of speed, or his standout blonde hair on the field. This is the story behind that aura, starting from a small town in the province of Buenos Aires, where almost no one would have thought a boy born amidst the quiet of the countryside would one day become an icon of Argentine football. From instinctive runs on dirt pitches, Caniggia ascended rapidly to the peak of fame. But it was also life that prepared him for his most painful falls. So, what turned a young man once cheered by the entire country into a figure synonymous with tragedy, scandal, and questions that remain unanswered to this day? Claudio Paul Caniggia was born on January 9, 1967, in Henderson, a small town in the province of Buenos Aires with about 7,000 residents, located hundreds of kilometers from the capital. It was the kind of place where life passed quietly and simply, rarely mentioned on any map. He was the third son of Hugo and Nelida, born into a middle-class working family that ran a household goods store in the town center. From a very young age, Caniggia stood out for something that everyone had to notice: his speed. He ran faster than children his own age, faster even than those older than him, as if he possessed an innate gift that no one could teach. While playing football on the dirt lots in Henderson, he also competed in track and field, winning every distance from 100 to 1,500 meters. All signs suggested he was born for sports. It's just that at the time, no one knew exactly which path would open up before him. At 13, a man named Jaime Arena from the River Plate branch in Henderson saw Caniggia play and immediately took him to Buenos Aires. For his family, it was almost like a final goodbye. For Caniggia, it was the first step of destiny. But from that moment on, had his ascent truly begun? Or was a silent series of upheavals already unfolding? On December 15, 1985, Claudio Caniggia made his first team debut for River Plate at just 18 years old in a 3-0 victory over Union. It was the first time his name began appearing alongside the true milestones of professional football, and it was when the boy who once ran on the dirt lots of Henderson entered a completely different world, in a River jersey. Caniggia played 53 matches, scoring 8 goals and gradually showing that he didn't just have speed, but also the ability to make a difference in crucial moments. By 1988, at only 21, an opportunity in Europe emerged. Hellas Verona signed him for $2.5 million at a time when River needed cash. Juventus backed out at the last minute, and Roma was slow with payments. On the surface, it was just another transfer. But in reality, it was the turning point that changed the rest of Caniggia's career. He ended up in Verona instead of Juventus, and that seemingly minor detail dragged him into a completely different environment. In Verona, he met Maradona not as a teammate, but as a companion in the nightlife. Serie A in the late 80s was the pinnacle of world football, but it was also where off-field temptations were more prevalent than ever. And it was during those nights in Verona that Caniggia had his first brushes with drugs. In 1990, Judge Guido Papaglia investigated a cocaine-fueled party circuit involving players and celebrities. Caniggia was also investigated. Though the substances found were determined to be for personal use and were not penalized in Italy at the time, he later moved to Atalanta, playing 4 seasons, making 95 appearances and scoring 28 goals, enough to be considered one of the best wingers in the world. But just as his club career was peaking, the moment that would make him a true legend arrived on an even grander stage. On June 24, 1990, at the Stadio Olimpico in Turin, Argentina faced Brazil in a match that all of South America watched with bated breath. For much of the game, Brazil was dominant, while Argentina was under constant pressure and felt as though they were drifting toward elimination. The match passed the 80-minute mark in high tension until Diego Maradona received the ball on the left, spun, beat 3 Brazilian players with an almost unthinkable run, and then threaded a pass through the defense. On the receiving end was Claudio Caniggia. He controlled the ball in the decisive moment, rounded goalkeeper Taffarel, and calmly slotted it into the net with his right foot. The stadium erupted, Argentina won 1-0, Brazil was eliminated, and Caniggia went from a rising star to a national hero. But that wasn't all. In the semi-final against Italy, the host nation that was undefeated and hadn't conceded a single goal all tournament, Caniggia scored the equalizer, taking the game to a penalty shootout and helping Argentina reach the final. It was Italy's first goal conceded at that World Cup, and once again, Caniggia was the protagonist of a historic night. However, football is often cruelest just when it seems destiny is on your side. In that semi-final, He received his second yellow card of the tournament, resulting in an automatic suspension for the final. Claudio Caniggia could not play in the match against West Germany. Ultimately, Argentina lost 0-1 to a controversial penalty. To this day, many still wonder if Caniggia had been on the pitch, whether the outcome of the 1990 World Cup would have been different. In July 1992, Caniggia arrived at Roma as a high-priced star and the team's greatest hope. But in less than a year, everything collapsed in an unexpected way. After what seemed like a routine match against Napoli, he was drug-tested and tested positive for cocaine. Caniggia admitted to using it a few days earlier, not for football, but because of a moment of weakness in his personal life. A 13-month suspension followed, cutting short his career peak when he was only 26. He missed the 1993 Copa America and lost the most vital rhythm of a professional athlete's life. Although the sentence was later reduced and he returned for the 1994 World Cup with impressive goals, things could never go back to the way they were. After that fall, Caniggia remained a great player, but he was no longer the man he was before he stumbled. On September 10, 1996, while in Italy, Caniggia received a 3 a.m. phone call with the most devastating news of his life. His mother, Nelida Tomasa Iglesias, had passed away after jumping from the 5th-floor balcony of an apartment in the Belgrano neighborhood of Buenos Aires. The funeral took place in Henderson, the very place where he had grown up and taken his first steps. But the pain didn't end with the loss. It was followed by years of accusations within the family. Caniggia's relatives claimed that Mariana Nanes, his wife, was the one who had alienated his mother from her son and grandchildren. Even at the funeral, criticisms were aired publicly in front of cameras. Later, from Nanes' side, a different version emerged, that it was actually Caniggia who hadn't been answering his mother's calls. The full truth is likely known only to him. Amidst all the controversy, the clearest fact remained that from then on, Caniggia's life was no longer just haunted by the pressure of the pitch, but overshadowed by a family tragedy too profound to easily move past. Despite a career marked by many scars, Caniggia returned to Argentina to play for Boca Juniors, where he once again teamed up with Diego Maradona. On July 14, 1996, in a Superclásico against River Plate, he scored a hat-trick in a 4-1 victory, delivering one of his most memorable performances in the blue and gold. It was a match that proved his predatory instincts and speed were still intact, as if all the previous turmoil hadn't been enough to extinguish the fire within him. During this period, the image of Caniggia and Maradona embracing on the field, followed by a shocking kiss between them, became a moment that saturated the media and sparked endless gossip. But Caniggia didn't treat it as anything major. To him, it was simply Maradona being Maradona in his own unique way. After Boca, he played for Benfica, returned to Atalanta, and then, in 2000, unexpectedly moved to Scotland to join Dundee at age 33. His star power was so great that fans packed the stadium just to watch his first training session. A year later, he moved to Rangers, won the Scottish title at age 35, and was even called up by Marcelo Bielsa for the 2002 World Cup, though that tournament also ended controversially when he was sent off from the bench in the deciding match against Sweden. After a final stint in Qatar, Caniggia retired in 2005 at age 38, ending a long and brilliant journey that was never truly peaceful. Since the late 80s, Caniggia and Mariana Nanes were considered one of Argentine football's most prominent power couples, not only for their fame, but also for their lavish lifestyle and constant media presence. They met when they were very young, sharing the same birthday but born a year apart, like a fated detail connecting them from the start. They had 3 children together and built a life that many admired, featuring a multi-million euro villa in Marbella overlooking the sea that once served as the setting for a reality TV show. But beneath that glamorous exterior, cracks had existed for a long time that no one noticed until everything went public. In August 2019 at Ezeiza Airport, Nanes appeared before the media and claimed that Caniggia was in a relationship with another woman. Despite the two not being separated, that woman was Sofia Bonelli, a young journalist living in the same building as Caniggia in Puerto Madero. The new relationship quickly became the center of a media storm and ended a 3-decade marriage with unprecedented noise. However, what followed was much more serious. In 2020, Nanes filed a complaint against Caniggia for sexual assault involving an incident from 2018. Caniggia denied the allegations, claiming it was a strategy to gain leverage in their divorce. After years of investigation, the case was brought to trial, with evidence and testimony documented in legal files. The trial was set for 2025 but was postponed after Caniggia's legal team requested a delay for work-related reasons. From an icon who once made an entire nation proud, Caniggia has now become a figure associated with legal battles and a complex private life, serving as a testament that sometimes the biggest falls don't happen on the pitch, but in the life lived off it. Claudio Caniggia was once given almost everything a player could dream of by football: glory, fame, and immortal moments in history. But life also took away his peace, leaving behind a journey filled with brilliance but also fraught with tragedy, scandal, and questions that have never been fully answered. Perhaps that is why Caniggia's story is remembered not just for his goals, but for the turbulent fate of a man who once reached the heights and fell many times. If you want to follow more stories like this, please subscribe to the channel and like the video so you don't miss any upcoming content.